Before you convince yourself that love has chosen someone else forever, listen carefully. Sometimes the loudest feelings are never spoken. The deepest emotions are hidden behind the strongest smiles, and the most unforgettable connections arrive when the timing feels completely wrong. What you're about to hear may change the way you understand attraction, respect, and the choices that shape every human heart. There is something fascinating about human emotions. They rarely follow rules. The heart doesn't always ask permission before it begins to admire someone. It doesn't stop simply because life has already written another chapter. But maturity is not measured by what the heart feels. It is measured by how we respond to those feelings. That is why today's conversation is not about chasing someone who belongs to another relationship. It is not about encouraging betrayal or creating false hope. It is about understanding people, recognizing emotional signals with wisdom, and, above all, respecting boundaries while becoming the kind of person whose presence naturally inspires honesty, trust, and admiration. Many people spend years believing attraction is always obvious. They imagine that if someone likes them, they will simply say it. Life rarely works that way. Fear is powerful. Loyalty is powerful. Confusion is powerful. Sometimes people carry feelings they never intend to reveal because they have already committed themselves elsewhere. Other times, what appears to be attraction is nothing more than kindness misunderstood. The difference between wisdom and heartbreak is learning to tell those two things apart. Let me tell you a story. A young man once asked an elderly mentor, "How do I know if someone truly likes me?" The mentor smiled, but didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pointed toward a garden filled with flowers. "Look carefully," he said. The young man looked. "What do you see?" "I see beautiful flowers." The mentor nodded. "And do they all belong to you?" The young man laughed. "No." "Then admire their beauty without trying to pick them." The young man became quiet. "You see," the mentor continued, "your character is revealed not by what attracts your eyes, but by what your hands choose to do." That lesson stayed with him for the rest of his life. Many people confuse attraction with permission. They are not the same thing. Someone may admire your confidence. Someone may appreciate your kindness. Someone may feel safe around you. Someone may even wonder what life might have been like if they had met you at another time. None of those feelings automatically mean they are available, nor should they become an invitation for you to interfere with their commitments. Real confidence never asks another person to become dishonest. Real confidence says, "I know my worth. I don't need to compete for someone's loyalty." Ironically, that mindset is exactly what makes someone unforgettable. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and everyone feels calmer? It isn't because they're the loudest. It isn't because they're the richest. It isn't because they're the most attractive. It is because they carry peace. People are drawn toward emotional safety far more than physical appearance. Think about your own life. Who do you remember years later? Usually not the person with the perfect face. You remember the person who made you feel understood. You remember the one who listened without judgment. You remember the one who respected your boundaries without making you feel guilty. Character leaves fingerprints that beauty never can. This brings us to the first sign. Sometimes a woman who is already committed begins paying unusual attention to the smallest details about you. Not because she plans to leave her relationship, not because she wants to start another one, but because genuine admiration often reveals itself through curiosity. She remembers conversations that everyone else forgets. She notices when you're tired. She asks about goals you mentioned weeks ago. She celebrates victories that others overlook. Most people only remember information that matters to them emotionally. Yet here's where wisdom enters. Attention alone never proves romantic interest. Some people are naturally compassionate. Some simply have remarkable memories. This is why emotionally mature people never build fantasies from isolated moments. They look for patterns. They stay grounded. They refuse to let loneliness invent a love story that reality never wrote. There is incredible strength in patience. The world teaches you to chase answers immediately. Life teaches you to observe quietly. The impatient heart often creates pain. The patient heart discovers truth. Imagine standing beside a river. If the water is disturbed, you cannot see beneath the surface. But if you wait, everything becomes clear. Human emotions work the same way. The second sign is found not in words but in energy. Some people behave one way around everyone, yet when a particular person enters the room, something changes. Their posture shifts, their smile becomes effortless, their eyes brighten before they even realize it. It isn't rehearsed, it isn't calculated, it simply happens. Psychologists often speak about emotional comfort. When we feel emotionally safe, our bodies communicate before our mouths do. Our shoulders relax. Our laughter becomes genuine. Time seems to move faster. Again, however, emotional comfort should never be mistaken for romantic intention. A healthy friendship can produce the very same response. The wise person never rushes to label every smile as hidden love. Instead, they ask a better question. Am I seeing reality, or only what I hope to see? Hope without wisdom becomes illusion. Wisdom without hope becomes fear. Balance is where maturity lives. There is another lesson many people never learn. The greatest attraction you can ever build is not mystery. It is consistency. People trust consistency. Anyone can be charming for one conversation. Character is revealed after 100 conversations. The strongest relationships are rarely built upon excitement alone. They are built upon reliability, upon honesty, upon emotional stability, upon respect. If someone admires those qualities in you, it says more about your character than your appearance ever could. Never underestimate the quiet influence of becoming a better human being. Not because someone might fall for you, but because the world desperately needs more people whose integrity remains intact even when temptation appears. One day, your greatest achievement won't be how many people wanted you. It will be how many people trusted you. That trust cannot be purchased. It cannot be forced. It can only be earned. And once earned, it becomes one of the most valuable things you'll ever possess. The people who leave the deepest marks on our lives are rarely those who pursued every opportunity. They are the ones who knew when to walk away with dignity. Sometimes walking away is not losing. Sometimes it is the highest form of self-respect, because the right relationship should never require someone else to break their promises in order to choose you. Remember that? It may save your heart one day. There is a quiet strength that only emotionally mature people understand. It is the strength to observe without assuming, to appreciate without possessing, and to care without expecting anything in return. That kind of strength is rare, and because it is rare, it often becomes the very reason people are drawn toward you. As life moves forward, you begin to notice that emotions are far more complicated than the stories we tell ourselves. We like simple answers. We want clear signs. We want certainty. Yet people are living entire worlds inside their hearts. Worlds filled with loyalty, doubt, gratitude, fear, and dreams they have never shared with anyone. This is why the next signs are less about reading someone else and more about becoming wise, enough to understand what those moments truly mean. Sometimes, when someone feels a genuine connection with you, they begin looking for reasons to be around you. Not because they have forgotten the life they have chosen, but because your presence gives them peace. They may join conversations they would normally avoid. They may volunteer to work on the same project. They may find small opportunities to continue talking long after everyone else has left. Notice something important. They are not creating dramatic moments. They are creating ordinary ones. Real emotional connections are usually built through ordinary moments repeated over time. A cup of coffee, a simple greeting, a shared laugh, a conversation about dreams instead of gossip. People often believe love arrives with fireworks. More often, it arrives disguised as comfort. Yet comfort alone is never permission. There is an old saying that wisdom begins where assumptions end. If someone chooses to spend time near you, appreciate the connection, but do not write the ending of a story that has not yet been written. There is another sign that many people overlook because it is incredibly subtle. A person who secretly admires you often becomes deeply interested in your future. Listen carefully to the questions they ask. What do you hope to become? What kind of life do you want someday? What motivates you to keep going? These are not questions people ask simply to fill silence. They ask because they are trying to understand the person beneath the surface. Most conversations stay on the level of weather, work, and daily routines. But when someone consistently wants to know what shapes your heart, they are paying attention to something deeper. Still, remember this. Curiosity is beautiful. Respect is even more beautiful. If they have committed themselves to another relationship, Your responsibility is not to encourage emotional dependence. Your responsibility is to remain the kind of person who makes honesty feel safe. The world has enough people who exploit emotional confusion. Become someone who brings clarity instead. There was once a successful businessman who seemed to have everything: money, recognition, influence. Yet every evening he sat alone in his office, long after everyone had gone home. One day, his assistant asked him, "Why don't you ever leave on time?" He smiled sadly. "Because this office is the only place where people admire me for who I am today. At home, everyone remembers who I used to be." Those words carried a painful truth. Many people are starving, not for romance, but for understanding. Sometimes what appears to be attraction is simply relief. Relief that someone finally listens. Relief that someone notices. Relief that someone speaks with kindness instead of criticism. Do not confuse emotional safety with romantic destiny. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that every emotional connection is meant to become a relationship. Some connections are meant to teach you. Some are meant to inspire you. Some remind you of the person you are capable of becoming. Not every meaningful connection is meant to become permanent. The fifth sign reveals itself through attention. Have you ever spoken in a group where everyone quickly forgot what you said except one person? Days later, they mention your favorite book. Weeks later, they remember your childhood dream. Months later, they ask whether you accomplished something you once hoped to achieve. That kind of memory is rarely accidental. People remember what touches them emotionally. But wise people never build castles on a single brick. They wait. They observe. Patterns reveal truth far better than isolated moments. Then there is something even more powerful. Sometimes admiration appears through encouragement. You may notice that whenever you doubt yourself, they become one of the first people to remind you of your strengths. They celebrate your progress. They believe in your potential before others do. They encourage you to keep growing. This is one of the most beautiful gifts one human being can give another: belief. Never underestimate what happens when someone genuinely believes in you. Many successful people can point to one person who looked beyond their failures and saw possibility. Perhaps it was a teacher. Perhaps it was a parent. Perhaps it was a friend. Perhaps it was someone whose path eventually went in a different direction. Whoever it was, they changed a life simply by refusing to give up on someone else's future. Become that kind of person. Do not encourage growth because you expect love in return. Encourage growth because every person deserves someone who reminds them they are capable of more than they imagine. There is another lesson hidden here. Your value should never depend on whether someone chooses you. Think about that for a moment. If your confidence rises every time someone shows interest and collapses every time they do not, then your confidence was never yours to begin with. It belonged to other people's opinions. Real confidence is different. It survives rejection. It survives loneliness. It survives unanswered questions because it is built on character rather than approval. Imagine planting a tree. For years you water it without seeing much change. People pass by and wonder why you continue. Then one season, its roots become so deep that storms can no longer destroy it. Confidence grows the same way, quietly, patiently, invisible at first. Then one day, people notice your strength without realizing how many unseen seasons created it. That is why emotionally mature people are attractive. Not because they are perfect, but because they are steady. In a world filled with emotional chaos, steadiness becomes extraordinary. As you continue listening, remember this truth above all else. Whether these signs are present or absent, your mission remains the same. Grow, heal, learn. Become more patient than your fears, and more principled than your desires. Because the greatest reward in life is not convincing someone to choose you. It is becoming someone who never has to compromise their values to be loved. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that attraction alone is never enough. Feelings may open a door, but character determines whether anyone should walk through it. That realization changes everything, because from that point forward, you stop chasing moments and begin building a life worthy of lasting love. The seventh sign is one that many people miss because it is hidden behind restraint. Sometimes, a woman who admires you will be unusually careful around you. She chooses her words with more thought. She avoids saying things that might give the wrong impression. She may even create a little distance after moments of meaningful conversation. At first glance, that seems confusing. If someone enjoys your company, why would they step back? The answer is simple. Because responsible people often create boundaries where emotions become complicated. Distance is not always rejection. Sometimes it is discipline. Sometimes it is someone protecting the promises they have already made. And if you truly admire another human being, you should respect that discipline instead of trying to break it. There is an incredible difference between someone who protects your feelings and someone who protects your future. The first gives you temporary comfort. The second helps you become a better person. Never resent someone for choosing integrity over impulse. In fact, admire them for it. The world needs more people who understand that love without honor eventually becomes regret. There was once a traveler who visited a small village surrounded by mountains. In the center of that village stood an ancient bridge built from stone. Curious, the traveler asked an old craftsman, "How has this bridge survived so many storms?" The old man smiled, "Because every stone supports the others. If even one stone begins to think only of itself, the bridge eventually collapses." Relationships are built the same way. Trust is one stone. Respect is another. Honesty is another. Patience, forgiveness, commitment. Remove enough of them, and even the strongest relationship begins to crack. Never become the reason another person's bridge falls apart. Instead, become the kind of person who builds bridges wherever you go. The eighth sign appears in moments when life becomes difficult. Success attracts attention. Struggle reveals genuine care. Notice who checks on you when you disappear for a while. Notice who asks how you're doing without expecting anything in return. Notice who celebrates your victories without making them about themselves. A person who genuinely values you often cares about your well-being long before they care about your achievements. But remember, compassion is not ownership. Someone can deeply care about you and still remain committed to the life they have chosen. Learning that truth protects your heart from unnecessary disappointment. Many people suffer because they confuse emotional closeness with emotional availability. The two are not always the same. One of the wisest lessons you will ever learn is this: not everything beautiful is meant to be possessed. Some things are meant to be appreciated from a respectful distance. Just as you admire a sunset without trying to capture the sky, you can admire someone's kindness without believing they belong in your future. That perspective frees you. It removes desperation. It replaces anxiety with peace. And strangely enough, peaceful people become more attractive because they are no longer trying to force outcomes they cannot control. The ninth sign is found in honesty. If someone trusts you enough to share fears they hide from everyone else, that is significant. Perhaps they speak about childhood wounds. Perhaps they admit they are struggling. Perhaps they confess dreams they have never voiced aloud. Vulnerability is one of the greatest expressions of trust. People rarely expose their deepest fears to those who make them feel unsafe. Yet even here, wisdom must guide your heart. Receiving someone's vulnerability is a responsibility, not an opportunity. Never use another person's openness to create emotional dependence. Protect their confidence. Honor their trust. Be the person who can hold another human being's story without trying to control the ending. Imagine how different this world would be if more people treated trust as something sacred, instead of something useful. We often ask why genuine relationships are becoming rare. Perhaps it is because loyalty has become negotiable. Perhaps it is because patience has become unfashionable. Perhaps it is because too many people seek excitement while too few seek peace. But you do not have to become like everyone else. Your standards can remain high. Your kindness can remain genuine. Your integrity can remain untouched by a world that constantly encourages shortcuts. There is one final sign before we move toward the closing chapter of this journey. Sometimes admiration reveals itself through silent comparison. Without realizing it, a person begins measuring other interactions against the way they feel when speaking with you. They notice your calm, your consistency, your ability to listen without judgment. They begin appreciating qualities that cannot be purchased and cannot be faked. These are the qualities that survive long after appearances change. Beauty fades. Titles change. Money comes and goes. Character remains. Years from now, very few people will remember the brand of clothes you wore. They will remember whether your words made them feel safe. They will remember whether your actions matched your promises. They will remember whether your presence brought peace or confusion. That is the legacy you should pursue. Not admiration, not popularity, peace. Because peace is what every tired heart is searching for, even when it does not know how to ask for it. If someone admires you because you live with honesty, humility, and quiet confidence, accept that as a compliment to your character, but never allow admiration to become an excuse for crossing boundaries. The strongest people are not those who always get what they want. They are those who know what they must walk away from. Sometimes the greatest victory is not winning someone's affection. Sometimes it is protecting your own integrity. Every choice you make today is shaping the person you will become tomorrow. Choose patience over pressure. Choose respect over selfishness. Choose purpose over temporary emotion. Because the right kind of love will never require you to become the wrong kind of person. As we reach the final part of this journey, there is one truth that deserves to be spoken louder than every sign we have discussed. The greatest question is not whether someone secretly likes you. The greatest question is whether you are becoming someone worthy of the kind of love you hope to receive. Too many people spend years trying to decode another person's heart while completely ignoring their own. They wonder who is thinking about them, who is watching them, who secretly admires them, but they never stop to ask, am I growing? Am I healing? Am I becoming the best version of myself? Life has a remarkable way of rewarding those who focus on becoming rather than chasing. There was once a young artist who dreamed of creating a masterpiece. Every day he searched for the perfect paintbrush. He bought expensive colors. He admired the work of famous painters. He waited for inspiration. Years passed, yet his canvas remained blank. One afternoon, an elderly woman walked into his studio and quietly said, "The masterpiece isn't waiting for a better brush. It's waiting for a braver artist." Those words changed his life. He stopped searching for perfect conditions. He simply began creating. The same lesson applies to love. Many people believe the perfect relationship will suddenly transform their lives. The truth is often the opposite. The life you build today prepares you for the relationship you will experience tomorrow. Your habits become your future. Your character becomes your reputation. Your choices become your legacy. That is why the 10th and final sign is perhaps the most meaningful of all. When someone genuinely admires you, they are inspired by the way you live, not just the way you look. They notice that you remain kind when kindness is difficult. They notice that you stay honest when dishonesty would be easier. They notice that you speak with respect even when others choose anger. These qualities create a quiet influence that words alone never could. People may forget conversations. They rarely forget consistent character. Think back to the people who have shaped your life. Perhaps it was a teacher who believed in you before you believed in yourself. Perhaps it was a friend who stood beside you when everyone else walked away. Perhaps it was a family member whose sacrifices you only understood years later. None of those people changed your life through perfect speeches. They changed it through consistent actions. Consistency is love in its most believable form. Anyone can promise. Few people consistently prove. If someone quietly admires your character, treat that admiration with humility. Do not let it inflate your ego. Let it strengthen your responsibility. Because influence is a gift, and every gift carries responsibility. Never become the reason another person loses faith in honesty. Never become the reason someone regrets trusting people. Instead, leave every conversation with kindness. Leave every relationship with dignity. Leave every season of your life with lessons instead of bitterness. There is something beautiful about people who know how to let life unfold naturally. They do not manipulate. They do not pressure. They do not force outcomes. They simply become better every single day. Ironically, these are often the people who attract the healthiest relationships, not because they chase love, but because they create peace. Peace has a quiet power. It calms anxious hearts. It builds lasting trust. It reminds people that genuine strength does not need to be loud. Imagine standing beneath the shade of a great tree. The tree never calls people toward it. It simply grows. Because it grows, people naturally find comfort beneath its branches. Become like that tree. Grow your patience. Grow your discipline. Grow your compassion. Grow your wisdom. The people who are meant to appreciate those qualities will recognize them in time. And if someone you admire is already committed elsewhere, allow your respect to be greater than your desire. That decision will never make you weak. It will make you honorable. Honor has become rare, and rare things are valuable. One day, Someone will enter your life who does not require secrecy, who does not require divided loyalties, who does not require you to question where you stand. They will choose you freely, openly, wholeheartedly. When that day comes, you will be grateful that you protected your integrity, instead of sacrificing it for temporary emotions. Remember this whenever life feels uncertain. You cannot control who notices you. You cannot control who admires you. You cannot control the timing of another person's journey. But you can always control the kind of human being you choose to become. That choice is your greatest power. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to become more patient than yesterday, more compassionate than yesterday, more courageous than yesterday. And every small step you take toward becoming a person of character is a step toward the life you truly deserve. So, if today's message has taught you anything, let it be this. Do not measure your worth by hidden signs. Measure it by the values you refuse to abandon. Do not build your future on someone else's uncertainty. Build it on your own unwavering principles. Because in the end, the strongest relationships are not built by people who desperately seek to be chosen. They are built by people who first chose integrity, wisdom, and self-respect. And that is a decision no one can ever take away from you.